Hey everyone, Happy New Year. I am recording this before our Christmas break and it is a Turkey Sweater Day. So that's why I look the way I do. I have been tasked to show you guys a much simpler way of gridding today. So I don't know about you guys, but when I am trying to get the students to create a grid in order to do a grid drawing, half of my time on that lesson is used on creating the grid itself. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I don't know. But the kids really struggle measuring and making a grid. This year, with everything that's going on, I wanted to try something new and I wanted to teach them a simplified version of the grid, and it is called a Starburst grid, or that's what I'm calling it. So for the first day of the lesson, I always teach the grid itself before creating the grid, and I always use the same thing every year. It's this tiger face. It's this tiger face and using the grid to transfer lines from the tiger's face to the larger grid. I always do this because I always refer back to it as we are working on the grid. Also, I'm talking about accuracy a lot with this activity. So this is always day one, and I am going to share this with you. If you've seen this before, awesome. If not, I found it somewhere online a couple years ago and I've been using it ever since. So I'm going to share this with you. This is day one. So the first thing I have the students do is take a look at this tiger, and I give them about 4 minutes, and I put the timer on. I give them about 4 minutes to draw this tiger as accurately as they can, just looking at it, freehand draw. Freehand draw this tiger, 4 minutes, just look and try to draw it as accurately as you can. And here's an example of one of my students in their sketchbooks, 4 minutes, and this is what they got. They got this tiger, and then I also have them writing. I give them about 2 minutes after that to write about their feelings when they were drawing that. A lot of them will say, that was really hard. I could not draw it accurately. It does not look realistic. And then after I have them write about how they were feeling, which most of the time they're feeling a little nervous about it, after that, I have them and I show them how to transfer the lines from A1 to A1, A2, A3, following the grid. And this is the same student. I give them about 3 minutes, and they are amazed at how beautiful their tigers look by using the grid system. So in doing this, I just make them understand moving the lines from the grid to their grid, and understand that they want to make it as accurate as possible. So that's the first thing we do. That's day one. The next thing I do is give them a printed piece, whatever they're going to draw. So I'm going to show you guys what we did for our self-portraits. I took a picture of them all, and they hate that, but I took a picture of them all with my cell phone, and I printed out a picture of each person and an example. Here is Brenda. I printed it out, I gave it to her, and this is going to be her piece for her self-portrait. Now they are going to take their picture and they're going to make a starburst grid instead of a regular grid. Same techniques, same transfer of lines, but this time we're going to use a starburst grid. All right, so they took their photo and I gave them a ruler, and all they had to do was, with their ruler, make a starburst going across their face. It didn't matter what size their picture was, so if you print out a smaller one, that's fine. Just whatever orientation you printed out is how they should be drawing it on their large piece of paper. So this is in portrait, so their large piece of paper was in portrait, and they are going to first make the starburst over their faces of their portrait. The picture I printed out, easy enough. Diagonal line, horizontal line, vertical line with a ruler. After that, they labeled A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H so that they knew which section. If I said, hey, you need to work in A, they knew what I was talking about. So that was first on their picture, and then they took their large piece of paper, or larger, maybe if it's even the same size, it doesn't matter, and did the same thing. Diagonal line, horizontal line, vertical line, and so they had two of the exact same grids on different size paper. It was also labeled A through H on their large piece of paper. Next, on their photo, I had them outline the outer part of themselves. So all they had to do, and I had them with Sharpie. This is another copy, so she did it on a different piece, but all you have to do on this is have the kids outline with a Sharpie the outside first, like this. Voila. You see how it's outlined now? I didn't worry about anything on the inside of her. I only outlined the outside. So what they're going to do first, and I tell them this is most important, you need to transfer these lines that you just outlined over to your grid. So in A, the only line that you will be drawing in A over to your piece of paper is this line. Look at the placement, and this is when I talk about this again. Really focus on where in the grid it is. So when I'm looking at section A, up at the top, a little bit down is where the line starts, and then about, I don't know, about halfway, a little less than halfway, that's where it ends. So drawing this line, and I also have them drawing with their pencil right on top to get the idea of the shape. Draw that line over. And then like a puzzle piece, your lines should connect to each piece of the grid. So this took them a little bit of time because I was really, really picky about this. This, I said, had to be as perfect as possible because if you get the outline really accurately done, the rest of it will be much easier. Okay, next I had them outline the large shapes inside. So for this one, I would have outlined the neck, which I didn't do, oops. Here is the collar of her shirt, her glasses, her nose, her ears, outlining the larger shapes you see inside. Tell them not to worry about the eyes, all the tiny little details, and that's last. So we're just working from big to small. All of those, and then start transferring. So they should know that in A, glasses, in B and C, glasses, because they're following this Starburst grid. After they got all of their shapes drawn in, they erase the grid, and then that's when you start throwing in details. And I've had really strong success with this Starburst grid. I might not ever go back to this type of grid, maybe eventually, maybe. But this is where, this is her drawing using the Starburst grid. I also have some pretty good rodeo art using this technique as well. So I'm really happy with it. The kids are happy with it because they're not struggling with that grid that they have to draw. And it's been really nice. So I hope you enjoy. What I want you to do next is follow those steps. Now you don't have to do this, but follow those steps. I want you to take some type of picture. I want you to give that starburst and start transferring. Start with the outer edges, work your way in, and see how this technique works for you. I want to see what you got.